How's it going, Ram fans? Welcome back to another week of CTV Sports. This weekend was a tough one at home for your Rams, but there are some good matchups coming up in the few days ahead. Here are your top stories as we prepare for another week of fall sports.
CSU football will look to dig themselves out of the hole they now find themselves in after being dominated for most of the afternoon against Middle Tennessee State at home this past weekend. Heading to Washington State for another early season road test against a Power 5 foe.
We'll hear once again from CTV feature reporter Madeline Davis as she takes us along to meet the CSU women's hockey team.
And finally, we'll give our picks for the top Mountain West football games this week in Hot or Not.
All that and more right here on CTV Sports, and it starts right now.
Well, Rams, college football has returned to Fort Collins, even if it wasn't the ideal sunny day to prove it. But a little rain didn't stop tailgaters and CSU faithful from coming out and showing off their green and gold pride. The student section was loud and alive, battling the rain and cold and contributing to a home crowd of 27,000 plus strong. And even with the Michigan loss 7 days ago, Jay Norvell made it clear that he liked some things and hoped to transfer them over to Middle Tennessee. And evidently, CSU fans believed him. Now, before I break this game down, I want to make one thing very clear. I do not blame Norvell and his coaching choices for what I'm about to throw your way. He was just as surprised as the rest of us to see the lack of fundamentals in the first half of the game. Norvell has been emphasizing the idea of simplifying the game during practices so that it will hopefully carry over to days like Saturday, but that is yet to be the case. Colorado State finished with just 246 yards of offense, 256 of those being throwing yards. Yes, you heard correctly. CSU finished with negative rushing yards. Although Millen threw 2 picks, he did connect well with his main target, Torrey Horton, who hauled in for 9 catches for almost 200 yards before the evening was done. Speaking of Millen's passing game, this is one of those picks. Yeah, you are looking at the first play of the game, folks, just 9 seconds into the first quarter. Trey Fluellen with the interception, returning it 32 yards for a Blue Raiders touchdown. This turnover was just the first insult to injury as the Rams turn it over twice more in the first 30 minutes of contention. This lack of possession time, stupid mistakes, and weak defense combined for a 27-0 score at half. My goodness, the Rams failed to score in the first half last week against the Wolverines. Who knew it happened again to Middle Tennessee State? At least that was Michigan, but now a fresh D1 team. Not only did the offense fail to reach the end zone until the third quarter, but the O-line has now given up 15 sacks in just 2 games. 9 of those coming from the Raiders on Saturday. Hey, let me give MT some credit. They managed to come out hot right out of the gate and take advantage of this slow start for the home team, and a slow start it was for sure. But halftime was worthwhile as it really emphasized the poor performance all around. CSU faithful, Jay Norvell, and all on the field were aware that something must change if they were to avoid a shutout loss. And although they were able to put points on the board, 19 was not enough to match up against the 34 MT put up before the clock struck 0. Before the Rams officially took the L, though, Millen was able to find Torrey Horton not once, not twice, but 3 times in the third quarter. The first pass covering 48 yards, while Horton just barely managed to secure it in the end zone. The second pass being just short of 50 yards, beating out the Blue Raider defense to run it in for the last 20. And last but certainly not least, a 3rd and 15 red zone touchdown with help from a bullet from Millen. Regardless of the fact that it did not end in sunshine and rainbows, this game made Horton just the 9th Ram in school history to have 3 touchdown receptions in a single game, the first since Preston Williams in 2018. Next up for the Rams, they travel northwest to face Washington State up in Pullman. This will be a huge make-or-break game for Jay Norvell and his Rams. But Mike, I noticed a scary win by Washington State over the weekend. What can you tell me about it?
Well, Ella, after that tough loss against Middle Tennessee, CSU football looks to bounce back this Saturday against a very dangerous Washington State team. Don't believe me? Well, just last week, the Cougars knocked up number 19 ranked Wisconsin on the road. It was a close one all game, and both sides showed off their stout defenses with the final score being just 17-14. Washington State was trailing for most of the second and third quarter, but that was before signal caller Cameron Ward dumped it over to running back Nakia Watson, a former Badger, who ran it in for the eventual game-winning score. The score doesn't tell the full story, though, as the Badgers led in almost every category that matters. First downs, total yards, and time of possession were all well in Wisconsin's favor. However, look at the penalties. The Badgers had more than double the amount, gifting the Cougars with triple-digit yardage. Having the higher number isn't a good thing, and Wisconsin found that out the hard way. Washington State looks to continue their perfect start against the Rams this upcoming Saturday. Hopefully, Colorado State can thwart that, as we saw some flashes of greatness from the Rams these first 2 weeks. Third time's a charm, right? So let's see if they can finally put it all together for a full 60 minutes. Well, that's enough for football. Why don't we switch gears and talk about a program that has a little more success this season? Ella?
Thanks, Mike. So Sunday afternoon actually brought that Colorado sun back, along with a lot of sweat and determination to finish out CSU's soccer match versus the University of Denver. And unlike some other games this past weekend, this one was close from start to finish. By the time the last minute of play came around, the score was all knotted up at 1, with each team's goal coming relatively early in the first half. Both sides were hunting for that game winner, and that is exactly what the Pioneers found. With just 41 seconds remaining, Denver midfielder Sammy Feller booted a long ball skillfully over the Rams' defense and past goalkeeper Emily Gavillet for her second tally of the afternoon. Even though Feller injured herself in the process, she took one for the team to ultimately give Denver the win 2-1. The loss is the second for the Rams, joining the Utah Utes back in late August. It also ends a 3-game win streak, and due to some early mistakes, this one stings a little. Early on, goalkeeper Gavillet had a mild bobble inside her box, giving almost a complete freebie to Feller early and forcing the Rams to produce a much-needed retaliation point. Not only was it a hard goal to swallow, but it also ended a Gavillet shutout streak that she had gained the past 2 matches, keeping the net clean for 225 minutes before Sunday's mishap. And if that wasn't enough, another big issue for the green and gold was Denver's size. Rams point leader Liv Layton struggled to fight through taller and stronger defenders, stifling her playabilities throughout. Regardless of the beating sun, the physicality lasted all 90 minutes. More specifically, in the last 45, when the ref pulled 3 yellow cards. The tension really peaked when the Pioneers racked up 7 fouls in the second half, leaving instances of impactful physical damage. For example, Kennedy Layton was left with a bloody nose about 3/4 of the way through, while a second collision forced Izzy Wildermuth to limp off the field. Up next for the Rams is a quick trip east to take on the Wildcats of Kansas State, on their home turf. Hopefully the Rams can get back into that rhythm they had early on. Mike, they're hoping to bounce back like that volleyball team did this weekend.
That's right, Ella. So even before football and soccer took the field, Rams volleyball finished up the Baylor Invitational down in Waco, Texas. After falling 3-0 to again the host, number 15 Baylor on Thursday, CSU rebounded with authority just 16 hours later, recording a sweep of their own and outscoring Evansville by 26 points. But the real highlight was Arizona State that same day. Things started rough for CSU, getting scrunched in the first set 25-15 before again losing the second set in a nail-biter 26-24. But boy did the Rams resurge. I don't know what Coach Tom Hilbert said, but it worked, as the Rams clawed their way back from down 2-0 and dominated the last 3 sets, edging a 3-2 win over the Sun Devils to cap off their Waco trip. And that wasn't only the merrier, as the Rams return home for a big one this Thursday. Do I sense a rivalry brewing? CTV Thursday Night Sports reporter Leah Cackowski joins us in the studio to preview the CSU-CU upcoming volleyball match just 2 days away. Take it away, Leah.
Thanks, Mike. Man, I am so excited to see the Buffs and Rams battle it out for the first time so far in this 2022 season. The annual matchup is here at Moby, and you won't want to miss it, as your Lady Rams are hoping for a sellout crowd. The Buffs took the hardware last year, but Colorado State is hoping to bring the Spike Trophy back home after the weekend. Both teams are ready to compete, and it's going to be an exciting one to say the least. Make sure to tune in to the CTV News Show Thursday night, as I will come to you live from Moby at the game. The energy will be surreal, and I can't wait. Back to you guys.
I mean, volleyball's looking good this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, nothing beats a Boulder game, right?
Yeah.
I think the students are going to show up. I think they're going to bring the energy. It's a whiteout. I mean, what's not to look forward to with this game?
I think we should expect a fully sold out game.
Oh, yeah, full house. I'm going to be so disappointed in the CSU
me
Rams
too.
if they don't show out for this game. I mean, nobody disliked Boulder like the CSU Rams, right?
No one does.
And with that, Rams, we'll take a break. When we come back, Madeline Davis breaks the ice with a special look at women's hockey. You won't want to miss it.